What is up, everybody? Welcome back to 9 to 5 Gamers, and today we are here with a rapid board game review, and the game we are reviewing is Doomlings. Now, Doomlings is a party game, and party games need to be judged fairly. I think oftentimes people tend to judge party games on the lower end. Kind of reminds me of like comedy movies. Comedy movies are never like 9s and 10s. They're always in the 5 and 6 range. But the thing is, sometimes I enjoy comedy movies more than I've enjoyed other movies. Just the amount of fun that I have with the movie doesn't mean the game should be doesn't mean the movie should be rated any lowly. So I want to rate these games differently. So when it comes to party games, most of the time my reviews are on a 10-point scale. Party games are going to be on a 5-point scale, and the categories are going to be a little bit different, and that is going to be, are they easy to play, are they fast to learn and fast to play, are they fun mechanically, are they replayable, and also are they inclusive? Do they invite people in to want to be played, or is this a game that you could see maybe people don't want to play because of some of the mechanics behind it make it seem like certain people might not want to play it? So we're just going to judge it based upon those factors. So let's go ahead and talk about what the game's about, and then we'll talk about what I thought about it. So in Doomlings, you are basically starting off from the beginning of time, and you're creating your own little species, and that species is going to gain little trait cards, and these traits are going to have things on them. For example, you might be very mindful, very demure, right? Very cutesy. But those are all different traits that are probably in this game. Now that that is kind of a thing, I wonder if that trait even exists. I should like look through the deck and look for demure and cutesy, but probably not. But anyways, but they do have things like being mindful. Another one, morality, right? And the ability on this card says to play this, you must give a positive value trait from your trait pile to an opponent. So that's how you establish the different traits of your gene pool. And you're going to be going through different ages, and as you go through each age, catastrophes are going to happen. And once that third catastrophe is pulled, that's the end of the game. Whoever has collected the most points on their trait cards as you are collecting them, they all have like little point values on the bottom. Some of them gain points by having other specific types of traits in there. Once you have enough points, or once the game ends, whoever has the most points is going to win the game. There are also some dominant traits in there. This one comes with actually 3 holographic ones, which you can kind of see, but the rest of them are not like that. But these dominant traits, you can only play 2 of them the whole game, and so you have to be careful which ones you play. But a lot of times these give you a ton of points. This one's 4 points plus 4 if you have more traits in your trait pile than your opponents, and so you want to try to play cards that let you play extra traits. So it's just an interesting, fun card game where you're just trying to gather the most points. And thank you to the creators of Doomlings. Thank you guys for sending me this. I really appreciate this game, and I know this review has been long overdue, but I'm glad I finally got a chance to get back around to it. So let's talk about the game and what I thought about it. And again, this is a rapid review, so I want to kind of barrel through these things as quickly as possible, because at the end of the day, a lot of us just want to go out there and play some games, and I want you to get out there and play some games, so I want to make this quick. Number 1, let's get into the review of this game. So for 1 point, is this game easy? Now, as far as the rule book is concerned, it's a very easy to learn and play game. The rule book is pretty self-explanatory, and it's even got some parts on the back that give you some clarifications on some things. And honestly, the game's not really long to learn, or it's pretty easy. And honestly, I feel like you can teach people this game. The only problem that I saw was that when people are looking at their hand of cards, they really don't know what to play. They're like, man, I'm looking at this inventive, what is this, deep roots, self-replicating, I don't know what all this stuff does, how do these abilities work? And so it's one of those games where it's like, at first you're going to have a tough time. It even kind of mentions that at the beginning on the rulebook. It says, your first playthrough, you're probably going to overthink your hand. Like there's some hidden perfect path to take, but when is that ever the case in life? Rest assured, there's no perfect card to play. Just for now, play something that's cute. Try to find some things and trust that the cards are going to help you find the way. And that's actually very true. Once you start, you're going to be a little overwhelmed by your hand at first, but once you play a card, you're like, okay, I kind of get how this works. And the gameplay is very easy to learn. You basically on your turn are going to have this little card out, and this is your gene pool. And it's going to tell you how many cards you're allowed to draw up to in the end of your turn. You start off with, I think, only 5, but then you can increase it all the way up to 8 cards, where you're drawing up to 8 cards. Sometimes that decreases down to maybe 4 or maybe 2 cards in your hand, and that's devastating. And those catastrophe cards kind of come in and help out with that, but we'll get into that in a second. But for the most part, really easy game to learn and teach. I give it a point for that. Is it fast to play, fast to kind of get into? Yeah, the setup is actually pretty simple, very easy to get into. It's not a long game. You're looking at, like, I think for me, the most I played it was like maybe 30, 40 minutes. But even then, that was like with the teach and everything. So it's not a very long game. I think in the box it even says that it takes 20 to 45 minutes, and that's exactly what it took me. So I think timing wise, it's a pretty fast game for what it is. It's not very long, but it is feel like there are some things you got to do as far as mechanics go. But I love the game. And so let's talk about a next one, which is inclusivity. That usually has to do with kind of like, does this game draw people in? Is it attractive? Does it draw people in? Maybe I should just say, is it attractive? And with this nice little game mat, which is sold separately, by the way, this is not sold together with it. I think that very much so, as you're building your little tableau with all of these cute little creature trait things, and as you start to do this, I feel like it's a very bright, very attractive game. I feel like people, as they watch people play it, would be interested in playing it, but I don't feel like it's like the most attractive, and it's just a card game. So I feel like at the end of the day, not everybody, I think most people like card games, but not everybody does. But this is one of those games that you can find at Target. I think they're super approachable. So as far as being inclusive and welcoming towards people, I think it does a very good job at that. So I give it a point for that. Is it fun? Absolutely. This is a really, really fun game. My only problem with the game was just kind of like the swinginess of it. So I think mechanically, one of the things that happens is that you're going to use these age cards. The first age card is just set your gene pool to 5, play 1 trait each, and then stabilize at the end of your turn, which is to draw back up. But once you start going through these, each of these age cards is going to have some kind of effect that happens during that round. Players cannot play any green traits this round, right? Like, that's one effect. Awakening, preview the next age before your next turn. Then you get into a catastrophe. For example, catastrophe says -1 gene pool, so then immediately you go down from a 5 to a 4, so now you can only have 4 cards in your hand. Give 1 card from your hand to the opponent on your left and right, but then I don't really have a problem with that. It's usually just the World's End. There is a little ability at the very bottom called the World's End, and this one says -2 to your score for each color missing from your trait pile. And if you're not paying attention to that at the end of the game, although you did a good job getting all these traits into your hand or into your tableau, this thing, it might punish you severely. And maybe your cards are saying, hey, look, the more you have of red, the more points you're going to score. But then at the end, you're going to get hit with -2 for each color you don't have. And so it can be very swingy, and you need to be able to pivot, and a lot of people just don't like that luck factor in these games. And I can say the catastrophe cards do set up, at least with the world end goals, some weird negative world ends. So it's like at the end of the game, this isn't helping me, this is harming me, and sometimes it can hurt a little more than you anticipate. So you really got to kind of plan around them, but I don't find them to be that bad. But I could see why some people might not enjoy that. So as far as the fun factor, I think everything else in the game is fun. Playing the trait cards is really cool, and how they interact with one another, and I like the, not necessarily, what is that, the interactive nature of the game, where you're kind of basing it off of what other people have in their tableau or from their hand, and you're able to do things to take cards or trade cards. There's a lot of that. And I think a lot of interaction makes this game fun. But again, those catastrophe cards can sometimes be very crippling. But, I would say I maybe would take off half a point there, and replayability, the inclusivity, or not the inclusivity, the fun factor of the game is going to be taking a little hit, because those catastrophe cards can be very punishing, and sometimes it's just kind of counterintuitive to what you're trying to do, and it kind of just hurts the gameplay. But I still think it's really fun. I think that it's deserving of half a point for that at least. And then let's talk about its replayability. Is the game replayable? I would say that as a base game, you probably play it a few times before you kind of like, you know what, I don't know if I really want to play this again. But one of the cool things is that the game actually, this deluxe copy that I got came with a whole bunch of expansion content. So we've got the Mythlings, and we've got the Dinolings, we've got the Techlings. These are different cards you can add to the game. Multicolor, which adds some that are half blue, half green, which I like the multicolor ones. I think those are pretty interesting. So the Meaning of Life's expansion is actually just hidden objectives that you can go after in the game. So like everybody gets these at the beginning of the game, and you're able to get like some end game scoring that's private and personal that nobody knows about. This one, I think, changes up the gameplay significantly enough that you should buy this. All of the expansions are pretty interesting and pretty cool. They add some replayability to the game, but I think ultimately, I don't know that it adds enough replayability to the game that it's like these decks, are going to vastly change the play experience, other than the Meaning of Life one, which adds those endgame scoring things, the private, like personal private goals. I think that maybe adds a little bit of extra to the game. The other ones just add different types of cards, which is fun, and you can include them in this trait deck. But this trait deck is so big and so full of other stuff, adding expansions. You could add all the expansions if you want, but how are you going to get through all of those in a single game? Probably not. It's a fast game. It doesn't take too long but like I said, take it or leave it. I think that as far as replayability goes, it does have some replayability with the expansions, but again, you have to buy those separately, so it's not all in the box unless you get like the deluxe copy of it, which then it will come with all of those expansions. Plus, they just released even more expansions to the game, which I haven't had the chance to play yet, but once I do, I can guarantee you that this will bring this game right off my shelf again to play. I enjoyed my experience with this game. That's why for me, it's a 4 out of 5. I think replayability is like maybe half a point. I feel like because of the expansions you get that, but I feel like the base game can wear off a little quickly. But it's still pretty good. I think it's a replayable game. I think it's good, and I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. So thank you guys for tuning in to this rapid review. If you've played Doomlings, let us know in the comment section, what do you think of it? And thank you guys for sending me a copy of this game, and I'm looking forward to the new expansions coming out, as well as all those beautiful, wonderful plushies that you guys are making. Those things are so cute. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. See you later.